Good afternoon, or again, good evening, I guess now. Thank you for staying with us. And now we will enter into the candidates that are running for the Forney Independent School District Board of Trustees. Mrs. Hall, who was not able to be with us tonight, she is is having to work, quite frankly, and so she has asked that I read this statement to you, and since she's not able to be here, so I'd like to go ahead and do that now. And this is from Kathy Hall. It says, "To my friends and family in the Forney Independent School District, I apologize for not being able to be present this evening due to a work commitment. I've been honored to serve you as a trustee, place 7 on the Forney ISD board for the last 3 years. I appreciate your kindness and support during my time of service. I'm currently running for re-election to place 7. Before running for the school board in 2013, I attended meetings for an entire school year, school board meetings. I knew that if I wanted to be able to ask my questions and help however I was able, I needed to enter the race. I felt my 20-plus years of experience as an accountant in a non-school setting would bring added diversity to the board at a time when school finances was the local hot topic. I want you to know how much I appreciate all of your kindness and support. During these past 3 years, I have studied the materials presented by the administration and have asked questions where necessary to gain an appropriate understanding of the issues at hand. I've listened to concerns from our community members, and I've also always reached out to the correct person in the administration who could assist. My focus has been on the families, teachers, students, and staff of the Forney ISD. In the last 3 years, we've done the following 3 things. Provided oversight to the district. Our role is not to manage, but merely to provide oversight as an advisory board. We've hired a new superintendent and have watched her passion and vision grow. She has assembled a cabinet of trusted advisors, and together they are shaping the district's future. We have delved into the district's long-term debt situation, making a commitment that future refunding or refinancing of debt and any new debt issuance would be based on the type of bonds which would provide for both interest and principal repayments in all future years. We've approved the installation and upgrading of security systems at district campuses. We've approved the administration's recommendation to enter into an energy contract allowing for the updating of fixtures and systems while leveraging cost savings. And above all, we have endeavored to keep our focus on doing that which is in the best interest of the families, teachers, staff, and students of the Forney ISD. Admittedly, I've been very quiet on this year's campaign trail. I've been honored to be a part of a conversion team which recently went live from an accounting system conversion that was almost 3 years in the making. During that conversion process, we implemented 3 other integrated systems as well. My time has been wholly consumed by my work commitments while we learn how everything works now. I hope you forgive my silence during the campaign season and understand that I have a great passion and commitment for everything in my life. I am no less committed to you and to our community. I've just had to focus heavily on my day job to protect my family and the firm I serve. I hope you know that I am still committed to serving everyone in our community as trustee, place 7 of the Forney Independent School District. So that is from place 7 candidate, Mrs. Kathy Hall. And folks, what we'll do here, we'll follow the same format that we did earlier. We'll ask you to come up, and we have our timekeeper who will soon be down at the front. And we'll kind of watch him, or he'll holler, or I'll say something to him if you get close to running over, and we'll stop. So we've got obviously a different set of questions, as you're well aware. You'll follow, if you'll grab in here, whatever question you want to pick up, you're welcome to do. And so I guess we will begin with Christopher Andrew, if you'd like to come forward.
Thank you. Thank y'all for being here. I'm Christopher Andrews. running for School Board Trustee, place 7. I am a longtime resident of Forney. I moved here in '85 with my family when I was in the 5th grade. Graduated from Forney High School in 1993, went to Texas A&M University, and got a degree in civil engineering in '97. I work now for Austin Commercial. We're one of the nation's largest general contractors and construction managers. I've been there for 15 years as a senior project manager. We build large commercial projects, range from 15 million up to 100 million, sometimes $1 billion. My job responsibilities are to manage that budget, manage the schedule, manage the quality, and manage the safety on those jobs. I've been married for 15 years to Allison. She's a '94 graduate from Forney ISD. She holds multiple degrees from Texas A&M, and she owns and operates her own photography company here in town. We have 4 children, 3 girls, 1 boy. They're down here in the front. Alex is a 7th grader at Warren. Ava is a 3rd grader at Johnson. Camille's a kindergartner at Johnson. And Harrison's 4 years old and will be at Johnson here in a couple of years. We attend First Baptist Church of Forney, and you can find us Friday nights at the Forney Sports Center where we watch the girls play volleyball, and Saturdays at the community park where we coach soccer. I coach both Ava's and Camille's Cosmos soccer teams. I bring a unique skill set to the board if I'm elected. I'm in commercial construction. Forney's growing. When I graduated from Forney, there were 4 schools. There's 14 now. We're going to be building in the next 6 to 8 years another 4 to 7 schools most likely, and my skill set will help that. I look forward to being a trusted member of the board, somebody that the community can trust, somebody where I listen to y'all. Thanks. I believe I'll be a good trustee for Forney ISD. Thank you.
Christopher has picked question number 6, and that is, what long-range plan would you want to implement for the school district? That may include growth, curriculum, staffing, or parental involvement.
Long range. So everybody knows the district right now was in some financial strains. The school board has done a tremendous job of getting that debt under control. And, we're paying that debt right now. We're going to be needing to build a lot of schools coming up in the next 4 to 6 years, or 6 to 8 years when we can start, once the debt's paid off. We currently have 1 elementary school already that's over capacity. In 5 years, based on the projected growth in this town on house closings and house starts, 5 years we'll have 3 schools over capacity. In 10 years we'll have 7 schools over capacity. So we got a lot of schools to build. It's a 36-month process, calling a bond election and having a school open. We can't wait until that time. We got to start preparing now. I believe my construction skills and abilities will pay off for the district, and what that planning is, starting that now.
The next candidate will be Keith Bell.
Good evening. Thank you, Judge Wood, Chamber, and FISD for hosting this event tonight. I'm truly humbled. I have served this community and the school district for 18 years, and find myself today without an opponent. Man, that's just incredible. I'm truly blessed. As Judge Wood said earlier, it is difficult to serve, to be any kind of public servant. It's even more difficult to actually run for that position. like I said, I'm truly blessed. I appreciate the confidence that this community has put in me for almost 2 decades. It will be by the time I finish this term. And it's been a wonderful and a great experience, and I really, really do appreciate that opportunity. Annette and I were married in 1983. We moved to Forney in 1986. Lived here now 30 years. Raised 2 incredibly beautiful daughters, both of which went to college, graduates of Forney ISD. Kate's an MBA, college softball coach, maternal head softball coach. Sarah, 2 bachelor's degrees, BS in biology and a BS in. She is a nurse at Baylor downtown. Great education, great place to and culture to raise these kids. They've come back to Forney. I've now got 2 grandsons, a granddaughter on the way. The next generation of Forney will start school in less than 2 years for us. So I'm no less passionate about the education of my grandchildren than I were of my own 18 years ago. No less passionate of that for your children. I've always believed and still today that our number 1 constituent is our kids. So thanks again for allowing me to serve Forney ISD. Thank you.
Mr. Bell has pulled the hat on question number 2, or I guess it's a bowl, it's not a hat, I guess. What is your own experience with public education? How has or will it influence your work as a board member?
Well, that's a good question for me to answer, since now I've had 18 years experience in the public education. I can tell you that, and I speak to several different leadership groups, Forney Leadership Forney, as well as Leadership Kaufman County. I've had the pleasure of seeing the good, the bad, the ugly of the school business. I've served 6 separate superintendents, 8 CFOs, including the interims, and education, public education is always in a state of change. Our legislature, I tell folks that what we do as a board of trustees is deal in everyone else's unintended consequences, the unintended consequences of county, local, county, state, and federal government. But it is in a state of change. We're in the middle of a lawsuit. The Supreme Court will decide this summer the fate of school finance and what that's going to look like. And finance for public education has been on us all, it appears, for years. And whether or not it's adequate or whether or not it's equitable, just our neighbors right down the street, Rockwall, will get about $1,000 per child more of state funding than we do. With 9,000 kids, that's $9 million. We would have never had a financial solvency plan if there had been equity in school finance. So, you know, I will continue to work with our elected officials to try to help that to occur. As you look at our Forney focus plan, our superintendent, Susie Matt-Williams, put that together before she was superintendent. She's had the pleasure to implement that. We've seen us now go from what she calls to Education 3.0. Technology-based, brain-based learning, and a true electronic curriculum to take the education of our children into a collaborative learning environment, not lined up in rows and you just sit and get like we all did that sit out here in this audience. That's not the child that is being raised today. They're multitasking, they are electronically connected, and they will be needed to be educated in that matter, because that's the employees of the future. And what we're doing today is educating kids as much as our world is changing every day. today's kindergartners will be educated for jobs that don't even exist today, as our knowledge and capacity and learning continues to move throughout the next decade or two for these kindergartners today. Thank you.
Next will be Chad Johnson.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. As I said, my name is Chad Johnson. I'm running for position 5 on the Board of Trustees. A little bit about me. I grew up in Paris, Texas, so not too far up the road from here. I was raised by 2 educators. My mom and dad were both public school teachers and then later administrators before they retired. So I have seen a little bit behind the curtain in the public education system and know the hard work and the dedication that our teachers, the investment they put in our kids and how important that is. In 1999, I graduated from SMU School of Law. I became a commercial litigation attorney in Dallas. I've been at the same firm there for about 17 years now. In 2004, I married my wife, Alexis. We'll be married 12 years next month. Make sure I get that right. We moved to Forney in 2006, just before our first son was born. And like many of you, we chose Forney, I'm sure, because of the great schools. And Forney was a place where people still knew their neighbors, and you could send your kids outside to play and not worry about them. And I think Forney is still that kind of place. We're proud to be here. We now have 2 children, Michael, who's a 3rd grader, and Drew, who's a 1st grader at Henderson Elementary. A lot of you probably met them at the door, hopefully not shoving things in your face. As I said, I'm a commercial litigation attorney, and what that means is that I deal with complex business disputes on a daily basis. I have to get up to speed in a lot of different areas in the law, a lot of different businesses quickly. I also have to find creative solutions to difficult problems, generally between people who are mad at each other. I think I bring a unique skill set to the board that is not there right now. I think the school district is in a good place. The current leadership, our current administration has got us on a good track forward. But when I found that David Walker was not going to run for re-election, I felt a need to step up and serve the community. I believe that I have a unique perspective, a unique set of skills. As has already been mentioned, you can see looking around the community that Forney is about to grow substantially again. That is going to bring legal and financial and infrastructure challenges that I believe my training and experience, my perspective as the son of educators and as a parent of young kids in the district uniquely qualify me to fill this position. And that is why I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
All right, you have chosen question number 7. And that question is, in an era of more limited financial resources, how will you enlist support for bond issues or public school spending from conservative voters or taxpayers with no children in public schools? How can the school board prove itself accountable to those citizens?
That's a long question. Well, I think in terms of financing bond packages in the future, even in a conservative community, I don't think taxpayers mind paying their taxes if the money is being spent wisely and efficiently. As long as we know that money is going to what it's supposed to go for, and the folks that are charged with being stewards of that money are acting responsibly in the best interest of our community and our kids, then I think we can get that support. I think the school board and the district needs to be held accountable for spending that wisely. That is a primary function. I think one of the policies that's been put in place in recent years is to change auditors to make sure the finances are being watched properly because of the problems that were encountered a few years back. So there are new policies in place to make sure that we know where the money's going. And I think that's important, and I think if we can be transparent with the community and show them that we're being good stewards of their money, I think that we can convince those folks to invest in the bond idea. And on top of that, folks that don't have kids in the school district, they have an interest in the schools. The type of schools we have in Forney and the quality of education we provide directly impact what kind of community Forney is and what it's going to become, because it is one of the driving factors that people choose when they're looking for a new place to go. So, thank you.
Next will be Mrs. Leah Phillips.
Good evening. Thank you for all being here tonight. I'd like to also thank Billy and Judge Wood for hosting this forum for the candidates. I am Leah Phillips. I'm married to Steve Phillips. We've been in Forney for over 25 years. We've raised 3 children here. 2 were graduates of Forney High School. They were rabbits. And our youngest son, Stone, is a junior at North Forney. He was the holdout that wanted to be the Falcon. So I guess when they say the house divided, that's what we are. We also have a grandson that will be starting kindergarten this coming year. So like Mr. Bell, we have the next generation starting in our wonderful school district. And we look forward to that because it's going to be fun being back in elementary school again. I became an advocate for children. That's what I do. We have a son that landed in our house. To see him and talk to him, you'd never know he had a disability. But to read his diagnosis would make you cry. So I spent a long time learning the law and figuring out the best way to help educate this child. And through that, I became an advocate for other children with disabilities. And I'm a volunteer advocate. I bring a different perspective to this board that no one on the board currently has. I don't know if anyone has ever had the perspective that I do as a parent with a child with disabilities. I think that with my perspective, it gives every child the opportunity to have the same and equal education. And I would respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Number 8, okay. Number 8. How should teacher performance be measured? What are some of the challenges inherent in evaluating teachers?
I think teacher performance should be evaluated, 1, by the children, even by the youngest children in her classroom or his classroom. In kindergarten, they give smiley faces and stars and all kinds of things. So why couldn't you implement a chart system for their teachers? I think that by having the voice of the children as part of the evaluation would give us a different perspective as looking into teachers. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to follow the same procedure we did just a few moments ago with the City Council. And if any of you would like to address any of these 4 questions that have been already heard, we'd ask you to come forward, and you'll have, I believe, 2 minutes to respond to that. And so if you'd like to come up and do that on anything that one of the other candidates has been asked that you'd like to make a comment on. Pardon?
Can you remind us the question?
Yes, I will read the 4 questions, in fact, and that's probably a good question to do, a good idea to do. Question number 2 was, what is your own experience with public education? How has or will it influence your work as a school board member? That's question number 2. Question number 6 is, what long-range plan would you want to implement for the school district? That may include growth, curriculum, staffing, and or parental involvement. Question number 7 is, in an era of more limited financial resources, how will you enlist support for bond issues or public school spending from conservative voters or taxpayers with no children in public schools? How can the school board prove itself accountable to those citizens? And then the last question, number 8, is, how should teacher performance be measured? What are some of the challenges inherent in evaluating teachers. Now, this is not mandatory if you don't want to answer, but if there's one of those questions that you'd like to add your comments to, now's the time to do it.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to go and take the same question that I had a while ago and go another direction with it. So, question 6 was long-range planning. When I graduated here in '93 from Forney and went to A&M, I realized very quickly that I was overwhelmed. 1, being away from home for the first time, and 2, that I was behind. I went to college with 0 college credits. Didn't really know how to study, and I was a valedictorian of Forney. So that has changed tremendously in Forney now. They've got programs to get college credits, learning how to study, preparing for the next step. The CTE program they have, Career in Technology, is amazing. We were at the board meeting last night, excuse me, and there was a presentation from the ag mechanical guys that came in and showed the trailers they were building, the fire pit they built, and so forth. These are students that are going to leave Forney, graduated, and ready to go work in the world. They don't have to go to a 4-year university. They can learn at school and go straight to work. I want to continue that program and advance that. Thank you.
Judge Wood, I'd like to talk about the long-range planning. On the question of long-range planning, and that was multifaceted, whether that was curriculum-based from an instructional standpoint, long-range planning being facilities, even finance. Those are all part and parcel of long-range planning. One of the things that I ran my platform in 1998 was we didn't have any long-range planning. That came out of that election, the 1999 plan, and part of that plan was the 6th grade ended up in elementary school. We would go to neighborhood schools and then eventually to high schools. And as you've seen this develop over the last 18 years, that's the process of which that occurred. What that plan was a product of was not Keith Bell or anybody else that was on the school board at that point in time. We appointed a facilities task force. Community members throughout this community were appointed by board members to serve on that facilities task force, and they created that 1999 plan. That has been set before in the past. We haven't had a facilities plan as far as a group put in place in probably 8 or 9 years. Just simply we've implemented a plan, and then we had the Great Recession. Part and parcel of our financial issues were the fact that from 2009 to 2014, our property value growth was static over that period of time. So that is changing. We are now growing. We had 25% capacity in our schools at the end of the school year last year. That will quickly, at a rate of about 4% a year, will go away. And we will have to have the information that was reported up here by Mr. Andrews, or that from our demographers. And so we will need to put that in place. We will need to continue to refund and refinance bonds to stay at or below the 50-cent tax rate that's mandated by the state of Texas. And so we will have to continue to do long-range planning. Thank you.
Apparently that's the popular question again. I would like to address the same question just briefly on a couple of different fronts. One, which has already been mentioned a couple of times, is the long-range planning has to account for the growth that's coming to Forney. We need to work closely with the city to make sure that growth doesn't outpace what the school can deal with. We need to be prepared as a school district and as parents in the district that some of the dealing with the growth may involve shifting some lines about where kids are going to school, so that we can avoid overcapacity situations. So there are a lot of different things that are going to have to be looked at over the next several years to deal with the growth in the short term, so that when we get to a point, as Christopher mentioned, that we are able to build again for the long term, because we're not there right now. And another focus for long-term goals, I think, goes back to the programs we have in place to allow students to get real-world experience through their high school classes. I read an article, it's been maybe a year or two ago, that talked about folks in my generation were taught, you go to school and the next question is, where are you going to college? It's not an if, it's you're going. And now we have a lot of, two things have kind of developed out of that. We have a lot of people getting degrees with no jobs, and we have a lot of shortage of skilled labor positions. And those skilled labor jobs pay a good wage and a good living for somebody. And so I think it's important that as a district we focus on making sure kids are getting the education that they need, and that we are providing them the tools to succeed in whichever path that they may choose for themselves, whether that be preparing for college or preparing for the workforce. And that we foster relationships with local businesses and others in the community, that those students get a chance to learn from folks practicing in their own profession and to learn with some real hands-on experience on what they're going to do after they finish school. Thank you.
I want to address the question, Judge Wood, about parental involvement. You want to read it to me one more time?
I will.
Thank you.
Parental involvement, let's see. Well, I'm trying to find out exactly which one that is. The questions we ask, is it number 2 that you're talking
I
about?
believe it's number 2.
Okay. Number 2 says, what is your own experience with public education, and how has or will it influence your work as a board member? I think that's probably what you were talking about. If not, we can pick out another one here. All right, here it is, number 6. What long-range plan would you want to implement for the school district? That may include growth, curriculum, staffing, and/or parental involvement. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's the one. We've been in Forney when we've had good times and when we've had bad times. And when our school district got into a financial pickle, a lot of classrooms, their budgets were slashed. And we needed parents to step up. We needed them to come and volunteer at the schools to help the teachers make copies and things like that. And I think that it's really important that we continue to invite the parents into the schools, because sometimes parents don't feel like they're welcomed. I hate that it's that way. And maybe it's just the culture that we live in now, that we have to be so protective that people just don't feel welcomed any longer. But I really would like to see a cohesiveness with the parents and the district, feeling like we can all come together and work together, because we are financially strapped and we're going to need the help of the parents in the classrooms. Thank you.
Now what we would like to do is ask each of you to come forward and give a 2-minute closing statement, and we'll start at the far end with Mr. Andrews, and then just each candidate, if you will, come forward after the other one finishes.
Once again, thank you everybody for being here. I hope you're learning a little bit more about us. I'll just close and say that, I'm not running on the school board for a single person, for a single issue. I'm not running for a certain group of people. I'm running for this community. It's a community I'm proud of, a community that I was raised in, a community that I'm chosen to raise my children in. There shouldn't be sides when we're talking about the school board. There shouldn't be north side or south side or old Forney or new Forney. It's about community. It's about Forney. I'm proud to be from here. Just in closing, just a few more things about me. I'm an analytical thinker, a critical thinker. I like to listen more than I talk. Listen to people in the community, have their ear. I have the ability to collaborate and work with others, ability to lead, ability to gain consensus, and I think that's what we need on the school board. I think I can be an effective voice for the community. I think I can be somebody the community trusts to make the right decisions for our kids, because it's ultimately about the kids. It's said that a school board trustee is the only elected official that your constituents don't vote. If you think about that, your constituents are your kids. I think Mr. Bell said that earlier. I believe we bring a unique skill set to the board, something that's not there now, something that we're going to need moving forward. I think I can be a good trustee for Forney ISD. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to just thank you for taking your time tonight to be here, to be informed. And that's the most important constituent and the most important voter is the one that does the work to know what you're actually going to polls and who you're going to vote for, what their character is, and what the culture. One of the things I always have told my kids, my beliefs create my morals my character. And the character of the people, the culture. And so if you don't really like the culture of what you live in, you can always look back to the culture, to the character of the people that are running it. That's good. That's true in your community, school district, state of Texas, United States. That goes back to our fundamental beliefs. It's also my belief that school board is a board of directors. We'll shortly be an $80 million corporation. We are the biggest company in Forney, if not Kaufman County. We have 9,000 customers, that's your kiddos, and well over 1,000 employees. We have a CEO, we call that a superintendent, and a board of directors has a few jobs. The state of Texas says with a board of trustees, and that's budget, promulgate a tax rate, hire and fire the superintendent, hold them accountable. We buy and sell property in the name of the district, and we can be sued and sued in the name of the district. But board of trustee, I believe, needs to have a skill set to be that of the board of directors. It looks no different than a corporation. We're to provide vision for that group. We're to be representatives, trustees of the community, the stakeholders, the owners of that, the shareholders of that board, of that school district. And so that's our job to represent their interest and entrusted with that. Not necessarily a politician, but as it says, a trustee, to be trusted to do your will and to lead your district in the direction and the culture of which you would like it to be. Thanks again, and I'm humbled to serve this community in this capacity. Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you all for coming out. As I mentioned, I'm an attorney. I hope you won't hold that against me. I told someone before we got started, nobody likes an attorney until they need one. And that's because I think as an attorney, we solve people's problems. The district's going to have some challenges coming up. We've got some financial hurdles still to clear as we move into the future. And we've got growth coming to the community that we've got to deal with. I believe that I bring a skill set to the board to solve those problems, to help meet those challenges. I just appreciate your vote. Thank you.
As a mom of 3 boys, I'm a problem solver. We have to always solve some issue that's going on between them. And that brings a unique quality to a school board member also. But also, being a mom, I have seen the good and the bad of the kids. And I think that we should continue to focus on promoting our children, on propelling them forward, giving them the best quality education we can have, and making this city where we live to be the continued city that everybody wants to come to. Because I am for sure that there's some city out there that has nobody living in it any longer, because they're all moving to Forney. So again, I'm Hannah Phillips. I'm running for position 5. Thank you for your time.
All right, well, this has been a good forum tonight. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting it together. And there are approximately 1,030 school districts in the state of Texas. And probably, I'm not sure I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I know most of them are probably having a board election. Some are not, because they didn't have candidates sign up to run. But many of the things that you've heard expressed here tonight, especially from the school board, which is, I've spent 40 years of my life in that profession, many of those same concerns, I promise you, if another forum, which I'm sure there is, or will be at least before election, would be heard in other places, South Texas, West Texas, East Texas, wherever. And I want to get a little pet peeve, and I'm not a preacher. I kind of wish it was, but I'm not. One of the things that our great state does, and we live in a wonderful state, we're proud of it. Many of us have lived in this state all our life. But many of our state elected officials go to Austin and they promise, I'm not going to raise taxes. I'm not going to raise taxes. And, for the most part, they don't. But what they do, and you heard Keith mention it just a moment ago, they fund public schools, they fund city councils, they don't fund city councils or counties, but they pass on many of the costs that should be borne by the state of Texas that are not. And they say it, well, we didn't raise taxes, but they cause the local governments. And it's city, I'm sure the city folks that are here tonight, I can promise you, that's what they do to the county. And they do it with a straight face, Sometimes I think they don't really understand how it works. But what Keith mentioned just a moment ago about there is no fairness whatsoever for Rockwall ISD, and I have some great friends, and I know they've got a wonderful school district in Rockwall. But why should that district be getting $1,000 per student more than the kids that live in Forney ISD? There is no explanation. There is no good answer for that. And that's why they continually stay in court. And so my wish would be that when you talk to your elected officials from this county that will be representing us in Austin, and when you talk to people that are in when you go to Austin, when you go to the session, if you have a chance, bring that up. And just, I promise you, at the county level, we're going to keep an idea. We're tired of having unfunded mandates passed on to the county. Let me say one other thing, and then I'll be through, and you'll have a chance to visit with these great candidates that you have, and also the city council folks. We have a wonderful county in Kaufman County, and I don't say that just because I'm county judge, but I thoroughly enjoyed having the opportunity to meet folks from all walks of life, all the way from down in Maybank up to Forney, all the way across the entire county. And we have 7 major school districts. They're all growing school districts. We have several cities that are really growing and doing great things with increasing their tax base. But just to let you know, Forney, the city of Forney, is kind of the flagship of Kaufman County. Now, don't run out and call all these other cities that said that, but I wouldn't have said it if I didn't mean it, because you are. And even though you do have growing pains, and I think that's a good way to put it, even though you do have growing pains, those things can be overcome. And you will overcome them as you work through them. But just know that you set the pace for the rest of the county. You have for the last several years, and with all the things that I know that are going on over here, particularly in the western part of the county, all the way down to the south part of the western end of the county, I know that that's going to continue. So just know that you have many, many good things going on over here, and don't be too hard on yourself. There's always challenges, but there's always a solution. Now, I'm not going to pass the plate. I'm not going to call for an invitation or anything. But I do want you to know that I appreciate being asked to come over tonight. Thanks to the Chamber for asking me to do that. Please stick around a little while and greet these candidates. And if you have something that's really a burning issue that you would like to talk to them about privately, I'm sure they would love to hear from you. So, again, thank you for being here tonight.